Hello everyone, my name is Simor.
This course consists of 4 parts: modeling and UV, text painting, weight drawing, and export mesh. I'm going to talk about the whole process in 10 lessons. So in modeling and UV, I will show you how to use tool and Decentraland modeling rules and art body model example and UV. In part of text painting, I will show you tool introduction, material introduction, texture creating, and the Decentraland map rules, and how to hand painting or projective texture pen mapping. And in part of weight drawing, I will show you weighting example. So in the last part of export mesh, I will show you how to check the exporting mesh and set the export setting and how to import to Decentraland.
And this is part 1 of Decentraland Wearable modeling. In this video, we first go deep into a little thing called 3D modeling. Before we start, we can set our preferences first. Now there is a preference in Edit. In here, we can set your UI size. This is the normal UI size, but I will get used to set it larger. Then we can also set up language here. We have a choose English or Korean or Chinese. If you have a number key, it can be hooked up. And then this is adjust the angle of rotation. This is the one is keyboard mapping, and there we can change one of our choose. I usually use the mouse right click to select object or 3D model. Then someone are learning by other software, for example Autodesk Maya or 3D Max. You can choose this left, which you are used to using left to select object. And then for this base, I usually choose this tool because when we making model, this is useful. This in animation play that use more. Then in search, used in node will be used more. Then if you need to change the keyboard, then go to just and set here. For example, select an object. In object mode, we have many hotkeys. Then we can set the number of undo. If the computer is good, the memory is relatively large, and it can be setting slightly higher. If you make a mistake at one point, you can undo it in time. Okay, set this up and save it. 3D modeling in Blender is the process of taking a 3D dimensional mesh object like the cube in the middle of our scene and shaping it into whatever object what you want. different 3D object. Starting from usually a simple 3D object, often a cube. So in this video, what we are gonna be looking at what called the edit mode of a mesh object in Blender, specifically the 3D object in your scenes, which are vertex, edges, and faces. We are also gonna be looking at many of the tools that you will be using to make whatever 3D object you want, which including the extrude tool, as well as many of it subdivide. So the process of 3D modeling in Blender starts with a quickly discussion on models. Whatever you select an object in Blender, like the camera, the light, or the mesh object like a 3D cube. Here may or may not be different modes that you can go into for that kind of object. If we select our camera and then go up to this model, we can in object mode, which basically means you can just select the whole object and use the transform tools to move it around and rotate and scale it perhaps, which basically means you can just the editor mode or difference mode of the object. So if I go into this mesh object with it, select it editor mode, I now have access to where do editing or do 3D modeling. But while I am in object edit mode, I can't select other object until I got back into object mode. A quickly way of jumping when you have a mesh selected between object model and edit mode is the tab key on your keyboard. Pressing tab will jump you from object to edit mode, and then back it press tab again back into object mode. So if I press to have a on my keyboard to go back into edit mode. The other thing you might notice is that I can now see the different corner called vertices of my mesh that are highlighted because I am in one of these 3 different selection modes for the 3 different sub-object elements of a mesh. In our case, vertex or vertex select mode, edge select mode, and face select mode. And yes, I can simply click to select any vertex or multiple vertex. If I hold Shift or I draw a selection box to select them and tap S because a vertex is just one coordination in XYZ coordination space. If I have an edge selected in my 3D space, I can tap G or grab it and move it around and click. I can tap S to scale. I can tap R to rotate. And of course, I can use my transformation tool over in my toolbars as well. I can move, I can scale, I can rotate, and of course I can select multiple edges by holding Shift. Then I could do whatever I want to those. I can also select face, and then mean I'm actually selecting the entire side of a cube. My mesh object, I'm able to scale and move. The first tool I want to talk about in this for you is called the extrude tool, and extrude works best when you are in face select mode, because what we are going to be doing is adding extensions or exclusions from the face of our cube. So again, this works best while we are in the face select mode. But because I have this tool active, I have an extra gizmo on my screen. A gizmo is any on-screen control, including this little 3-axis gizmo over here. You will notice that whenever I select a face and extrude out by pulling on that little yellow brush handle, the extrusion goes directly away from perpendicular from the face that we extrude out. Now I will tell you subdivide tool. If you selected this face in edit mode, then press W, select subdivide. Now that I have these 4 faces, I can do 3D modeling with the higher level of geometry that I have on this mesh. I could select each one of these faces on the side of my cube, and I can extrude them out, and that could be the shape what I want set of my cube. So subdividing is just a way for getting up more geometry, more edges, and more faces into the same area on your mesh. I will go ahead and press Ctrl Z on my keyboard a few times to undo. That's because sometimes you might want to just select. Well, it take both of these edges and subdivided them, but because the edges are two-dimensional, they only go in, one direction at a time. You simply take that edge and cut it into, and it cut both edges into 2 equal edges, and it's actually draw, in this case, an edge between those edges. So now I could make, well, if I grab my move tool, a little house. Okay, so the next tool is how do we select the loop edges and the ring edges. When we go straight into edit mode, and then I'm going to subdivide the face. When you have this number of edges, it's slowly to hold the shift key and click right mouse one by one. Then we can hold the shift key and click right mouse, and then I'm going to select these loop edges. If we hold down Ctrl Alt and click right mouse, it will select ring edges. If I'm going to add a shift, Ctrl and Alt, and then this could be plus select, and then Alt Shift right click. This one we can select both ring edges. So you can also select it from the taskbox, the same. But hotkey is more fast. So how do we move the edges? We can press G twice, and up here is a way to smooth the movement. Next up is the bevel tool. The bevel tool is here. We can go and set up a segment for it. Or you can set up the segment here first, and then you can adjust it. Okay, this is the bevel tool. Next up is the inset face tool. When we go into edit mode, we use this tool. The hotkey is I, and then we can insert face like this, and then I can use the extrude tool. And then the other one is to apply mode scale. When you create a cube and then let it scale, and then if we select the edges and the bevel, it wanna be a bevel at a 45 angle. And just because our model here that have gone through this X scaling, so if I Ctrl A and apply scale, and then bevel, this one doesn't apply scale bevel. There is a difference here. And then we can go through here and change our 3D view, and then this is our X-ray. Oh, and also we can select all our back face edges. Then there is our material preview mode, and this is our render mode. Of course, the wireframe can be open here, and then we can, and then when we extrude the face, we need to check the normal. When we have the red face, which has a negative normal, and then we need to press Alt N and resolve it. And then after this mode checking is done, such a model is a valid model. Okay, that's the end of this video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.